Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome back to my channel for both new and old subscribers. If you during this video is hearing some meow sounds, it is of course Phoenix, my new cat, my little kitten. And I mean, he just talks constantly, and right now he is here in the room with me. So I do apologize for all of this cat talk in the video, but I do hope that you will enjoy it, because this is the first in a series of videos that I'm doing about my coloring book collection. I have had many requests about showing you my coloring book collection, and you know, it's not just about showing the coloring books, it is actually to show you the pages I have colored in these books. And by the look of it, you have already guessed that this first episode is of course dedicated to Johanna Basford, who was the first adult coloring illustrator that I found. And here is my very first book of hers, a book which I treasure quite a lot. So this is, as usual, going to be a chatty video, and probably a bit longer than some of the videos I will be making with the other illustrators, because I have a whole pile of Johanna books right next to me. So it is going to take a while. So grab yourself some lovely snacks and something very nice to drink, a mug of tea, a cup of coffee, or something very cold to drink while you watch this. But before we begin with this video, I would just like to say that my 3-year anniversary on YouTube is coming up, and I'm hosting a Q&A in that occasion. So write your comments or questions to me down below this video, or find the post here on YouTube and put your questions there for me. It can be both coloring related, or if you want to get to know me a little bit more. So remember to ask me these questions. Also, if I reach 3,000 subscribers before my 3-year anniversary, I will also host a giveaway. So be sure to be subscribed to this channel if you want to be a part of the giveaway, and look out for it in upcoming videos on the channel. All of these first books I want to show you, they are all the Danish editions of her first coloring books. Den hemmelige have, Secret Garden, Den fortryllede skov, Enchanted Forest, Ivy og blæksommerfuglen, Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, Den dejlige juletid, Johanna's Christmas, Det forsvundne ocean, Lost Ocean. And all of these books were my first, and I have finished all of them. And I have a completed flip through of them up on my channel. So if we just begin with Secret Garden, Den hemmelige have, you can see that I did not use coloring pencils at this point. So this book is from 2015, and I think that I bought it either that year or the year after, in 2016. And I used felt tip pens from Faber-Castell. In this period of my life, I hadn't turned into coloring pencils or other mediums yet. So all of this is of course colored, and back then I also colored, you know, from the beginning to the end, and I didn't miss a page. Okay, I'm sorry about all of the noises in the background, but Phoenix, as I said, he is really playing right now. The thing I like about her first books is that they are filled with these quests. So when I went to the bookstore, oh my goodness, as I was saying before, Phoenix got a little crazy and wild and tried to ruin one of my doors. When I went to the bookstore, I was just, you know, browsing, probably after things for my children, because I like to browse through bookstores and find things for my children, you know, coloring books for them when they were little, and coloring pencils for them, and, you know, pencils and all sorts of nice things. And then I saw this book on the shelf. And the thing I like about this book and her first books is that these are not just coloring books, you know, because at that point in my life, I had sat with my children when they were small and colored in their coloring books for children. And this is different, because here we have a quest, you know, a quest of things to find on the pages, hummingbirds or ladybugs or a shark, keys, owls, and so on. So I thought that this was a great idea for a book. And this is one of the things that actually caught me and made me like Johanna Basford, is all of these quests in her first books. And also another thing, as you can see here, they are all colored, my first books, with felt tip pens, because I didn't use coloring pencils at that time. But you can see here, draw more caterpillars and butterflies and so on. So this is not just a coloring book, it is a coloring book where you can add your own. I added a butterfly here and there. So I think this was just a great idea. And then color the details on the flowers, and you know, also make your own details on some of these pages and the butterflies. So we have some that are made and some you can do yourself. I mean, this labyrinth, a great idea. And then I, of course, had to color the right way through the labyrinth to the leaf for the snail so it could find it. And the idea of, you know, having a secret door in a garden. A lot of old, country or manor gardens, they have this sort of secret garden. I really like it. And there we have the key. And here you could draw your own plants. And for someone who began drawing in a very, very early age, myself, I think that this was a great idea for a coloring book. My children, when they were small, because these are, of course, my treasure. And here again, an opportunity to get really creative yourself within a coloring book where some of it is drawn and the other you can do yourself. Okay, so this is my shameful secret. I have not colored this bug page. I am not going to be coloring it because I don't like bugs at all. But otherwise, I did color everything. And sometimes you don't want to, you know, add a lot, but then you can just color the things that are on the pages. So as you can see, back then I also really liked bright colors. And well, I do have flip-throughs of these coloring books up on my channel, but I just wanted to show you these pages since it is a coloring book collection video. And some of the pages in the other books you will have seen in some of my completed pages videos, but nevertheless, hummingbirds, this is a beautiful page, and you can see I really like the blue and green colors already from back then, and pink and purple also. So those are really my go-to colors, always have been. And then once in a while I spice it up a little bit and use more orange, yellow, golden colors. So you can see what is also missing here is, of course, backgrounds. I didn't do any backgrounds back then in my coloring books because it's extremely difficult to make a good looking background with felt tip pens. You will never get as smooth and nice result as you can with soft pastels or watercolors, water mediums, coloring pencils, and so on. Another thing I really like about this book is how versatile it is in the drawing. So you have the garden motifs, but you also have a pond with goldfish. Of course, I have to make them goldfish. I always make my fish goldfish because I like the way they look. I think they're very beautiful to look at. And then you have some, you know, cultivated garden motifs, and some with a more wild garden, some with flowers, and another, you know, this is from a sort of more meadow-like flowers. And I did have an accident here with smudging. So that's one downside to using felt tip pens. You can see they don't really bleed through, but you can have accidents if you spill water while the ink is still wet. Then you will, of course, have an accident. Oh, and I never got to draw all of the butterflies in there. But nevertheless, And this is the heart page she always had in her first coloring book. She always had a heart page. And then also a great idea in the back of the book. Then you can see, if you couldn't find all of the things, then you have a sort of a solution where you can just look it up and, oh, so this is where one of the hummingbirds were, or this is the page where we had a spider, and so on. So never color this because it's so smooth, and I'm not quite sure that I would have a medium that would really fit these pages. But my very first book, and I think that I completed this one in 2018. It actually took quite a while because I also have other hobbies, and back then I embroidered quite a lot. Enchanted Forest. Well, this is one of my very, very favorite books of Johanna's. This is also complete, so I will just quickly flip through it. And I got this one. I can see I have written 2018, so it must have been at least 2016 when I got Secret Garden, because a couple of years went by before I got her next book, and I discovered that she had other books. And then, well, by then I was, of course, hooked. And still using those felt tip pens, and you can still see great with another sort of quest. You will have to find unicorns and frogs, an eel, snails, a raccoon. And this is a book filled with a lot of framing, and I love the idea behind the book, that you get a map. And then the quest is to find these different sort of wooden discs that will fit the door in the castle, so that you can open the castle. So I haven't done it in this book, but I actually thought about, making a dotted line through the map to all of the places that you have to go to find those wooden plates to reach the castle and open the doors and get into the secret, which of course we all know by now. For example, the labyrinth down here, I have actually marked the way through the labyrinth. And I also thought for a long time to, make a book or write the story behind Enchanted Forest, because there is a story on these pages. The quest begins, of course, you use your compass, and then you know that the end goal is to reach this castle, and then you begin in the Enchanted Forest. And you begin in the forest by going through the forest and trying to find one of the first of these wooden plates, and then you, of course, encounter all of this animal life in the forest, with the squirrels and the owls and other birds, plants, which you can color in different ways. Again, no backgrounds. This one I decided that this was a page that needed to be black and white, and then just a blue bird. And here, further into the forest, where you find the first of these plates with a diamond on it. And then you move on through the rest of the forest, meet even more animals. The leaves are perhaps falling down, perhaps it's even autumn. More forest animals. And then you go into another place in the forest. You can see we have some wild blackberries here, and here we find another one of these wooden discs that you will need. The tree stump page is sort of perhaps a little elf house or something. And then you move on, of course, through a flower garden where we have dragonflies. And remember, this is the goal. And here you will find perhaps some keys and other stuff you can use. Again, meet a lot of animals. Here we have the birds and the feathers, some of the tree houses. And then we have the village in the trees, which we can see on the map here. So the first part of the journey here through the forest and the blackberries and the acorn forest, or what it is, and then the tree hut village that we are here. And then we can look through the binoculars and we can see the castle. So we are getting near to the castle. And we still need to, find some of these cards. So we will have to go underground and find one of them here. where the rabbits live, you can see. And then we get to the river and a pond, and here we find another one of them. We meet a frog, and we will have to sail on this river, down the river, to get to another place. Oh, one of these skull pages that we've also found in her first books. Skull or hearts. And then we are really getting near to the castle. We have all of this, don't know what you can say, leaves framing, and the unicorns. And then, of course, the labyrinth we saw on the map, where we find another one of these. We meet a bird with a key in its beak, and finally we reach the park surrounding the castle with the thorn bushes that you will have to go through. And then you enter, or you reach the gate to the castle. I mean, this is just a brilliant story. Too bad there wasn't any text. That was why I thought about, writing the text to this. And then, of course, the scary lion here guarding the castle. And here you will have to insert all of these. So I drew them as well as best as I could. And these symbols to open the gate of the castle. And then finally, we reach the secret. What is behind this castle? We have the beautiful, beautiful dragons. And one of them red, the other one, of course, blue. I mean, this is just filled with small details, these coloring books of hers in the beginning, and such a good story. And then we have the guide, of course, to the Enchanted Forest. I even made a list of all the things I had to find. And that is why this book is simply one of my very favorite books of Johanna's, because I absolutely love the story behind all of these drawings. And I think that is a magic about Johanna, at least in her early works, that there really was a story. And perhaps I'm not doing this in the right order, but then the story did come with Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, which I have also completed. And this is the first coloring book I completed using colored pencils, and those coloring pencils were, of course, my very, very beloved Polychromos pencils from Faber-Castell. So this entire book is colored with these Faber-Castell. And here we do get this story about Ivy and the house where she visits or actually she lives with her grandparents in a tiny pink house between a baker and a florist, and where the grandmother bakes all of these wonderful cakes. And they have so many things in this house. This double page spread was, by the way, a page that took forever to color. And I really mean forever. I think I used a couple of weeks coloring this because there were so many details. And the Inky Butterfly, of course, before it gets all inky and dirty of the ink. The ink is, of course, spilled, and then it disappears, and then she looks into the keyhole and finds out about this world. The door opens. We have this tunnel, and then she walks towards the light. We have the green leaves and stuff, foliage, and then she sees the ink drops, and then she follows the trail from the Inky Butterfly out to this field of flowers. And this was a page I really thoroughly enjoyed coloring because, yeah, it is flowers. And I enjoyed looking up some of the flowers and be inspired by the colors, and then making sure that we had all sorts of colors on this page. Of course, you can also see the background, not very good, but I was beginning, and this was when I first started out with my coloring pencils. And well, I did have learned, a few things from my my felt tip pen days about adding some details and stuff. So the sweet pea flowers, I actually think I saw Christian tutorial and was inspired in how I should do those flowers. And then, of course, we have the bumblebee here. I think I saw Johanna's own tutorial about making this, so I think I used it for that specific bumblebee here. Well, these 2 pages you will surely recognize, especially this one, because I use it for both YouTube and Instagram and my Facebook now. So, and this is because this is one of the earliest drawings I'm really, really proud of, with how I colored the flowers and the overall color palette of this page. So that is why I use it. But you can see here, I made sure that you could see the ink spilled on all of the leaves, because I used a black gel pen to color the ink. Also here on this page with the cherry flowers and the lanterns. So you can see here, I used that gel pen. That is Phoenix. Perhaps he wants to say hi. I think that Phoenix just wants to just say a little hello to you. Okay, and perhaps wants a little bit of attention. He's probably tired from playing so much. Well, anyway, this page was difficult to color, I think, because of all of these are her thoughts. Well, it's supposed to embody her thoughts, and decided that all of the framing should be the same color to sort of combine it, and then just use a lot of different colors on it to show that she was, you know, thinking about all of these opportunities and possibilities with how the ink spots were disappearing. And here we have the little mouse cleaning up all of the ink stains from the plants, because the meadow and the plants have to be really, really cool and nice and clean. So I used fine liners to help with the fur here. Wasn't very good at fur back then. I think I colored this in 2019, 2020, perhaps. Quite a few years ago. And then we have all of these flowers. Oh, and here they are sailing. Oh, and I love these wooden villages in the ocean or wherever they are. I love coloring them. Very creative. I don't like coloring all of these frames. And then comes some pages that were really difficult because there were so many, coins and jewelry and gems, and then you have to color them in certain ways to get a lot of highlights in them. And so these were really my first tries with all of these gems and highlights. And there are just so many pages with these in the book. Oh, and this was a page that required quite a lot of brown with this huge tree. And then, of course, also this gem mandala. And here. And it just keeps on continuing with all of these gems. Now this is I can't remember what sort of bird it is, but I remember that I really looked it up, and really proud of how I managed to get the green and the blue colors in the feathers of the wings, and then all of this. So this is not just black, this is dark gray colors and paint gray I used for this one. So this was the first time I really went all the way with coloring a bird, so I was really proud of this page. And then, oh my goodness, these 2 pages with his house. I mean, all of the, not just the gems, but the background and everything, and all of these wooden furniture. It just took forever, and I had to use a lot of different brown colors, light and dark and so on, to color this. It took forever. And you can see on these silver spoons, I actually used the silver from the Polychromos set, and then I used a silver gel pen, I think it was, Pencil Sparkle Pop, I already used at this time to add some details. And also some gold on the gold keys. Oh, and I loved coloring these mushroom houses down here. And also like the way I did manage to add some shadows. I was beginning to experiment a lot with shadows back then already. Oh, and this, the elves' party in the forest. Oh, and this one, I colored them all as forget-me-nots, these flowers, because they are forget-me-nots. I love that page. I think it really works nicely. Oh, and this was a page that really took quite a while to get through, with coloring all of these bees. So I decided to, you know, identify what kind they were and then color them in the same colors for each sort of species of bees. Made it easier for me. And here she's getting nearer to the dragons. Oh, and this page also, with the chandelier, I used 2 different sorts of sakura jelly rolls. I think it was the stardust, because those are the sort of glittery ones. It really took forever to make this chandelier. And then, of course, the treasury in here, it also took a couple of weeks to color all of this and making sure I had shadows behind these tapestries. And we have another chandelier, and we have all of these coins and jewelry and gems and whatnot, and really took forever. But I really am proud of how much I did manage to get sparkle in the gems, because this was the first time I really colored gems with coloring pencils. It was in this book. And here we have the big dragon, the Dragon Queen. Thoroughly enjoyed coloring this double page spread with all of the butterflies. And another one of the heart pages. And here I didn't want to color the entire background, so I just sort of colored around this butterfly framing, more butterflies. And then they are cleaned, and then she finds her butterfly, which has found a girlfriend. And then she has to find her way home. And she does, and here we have the butterflies side by side. And then the last pages in the book. Johanna's Christmas and Lost Ocean, also done with those felt tip pens. So I'm just going to flip through them a little bit quick. But you can see here, this is actually quite a nice thing, because they are sort of single-sided. So this really gives you an opportunity to use different sorts of mediums in this book. I don't know if any have ever tried coloring those back of the pages patterns that we have here. Oh, I love this page with the houses. One of my favorite pages in the book. I actually tried coloring these in one of the other books I have of Johanna's Christmas, the English one of the English ones I have. But you can see you can only do so much. So this one could really use a background, but you can only do so much with these felt tip pens. So eventually you will have to decide what sort of mediums you want to use in these books. And well, I say that this is a finished book, and it is almost, but actually not, because the last pages, as you can see, I haven't really colored. I like the, this is also one of the eldest books and of Johanna's. And I like the idea of, yet again, we have this treasure hunt for all of these things. You can find pearls and gold coins and vases, potion bottles, and so on. But you can see here, I mean, you also have a lot of detail in Secret Garden and Enchanted Forest, and you also have some big scenes like this. But again, there really are only so many ways you can color underwater life. And I mean, this double page spread took forever. I really had trouble coloring this. I really struggled. You can see I have written names of different sorts of fish, because I thought if I'm going to color all of these fish, then I would have to, well, I actually found pictures of tropical fish online, and then I tried to identify as much as I could the different sorts of species, or found someone that looked like them, and then I found out a color palette for the fish. And then, for example, this one, I then colored all of the fish like this, the same color, like with these blue and these red. It's called actually a red one, it's more orange. So this page really took forever, and also this one. And I mean, if you are doing with coloring pencils, Prismacolors is not very good on pages like this, because there's so many small details, and they're so soft, so they get a lot of, they get blunt, and then you can't really color all of these details. So I think that fine liners and these felt tip pens are a good bet on pages like this. And you do get a bit tired of, pages like this. This is okay. And also this one and the skull page. This one I did the background in coloring pencil, simply because, well, I couldn't do it in felt tip pens. But, all of these details, like this page with all of the seashells, it took me, I think, a month to color all of these. And I didn't even color the sand that they are lying on. This one also took quite a long while. I do like the result, though, with the colors I used here. And then there are pages like this where, well, they are not really that appealing. But, I had bought it, and I had, I love this octopus page. So and again, I colored it, page by page, and I thought my way through it. I thought it could be fun to do a peacock starfish here. This page also took forever because it's, repetitive patterns. And the eels here. This fish mandala. I really like pages like this, because here you have a lot of options, but some of the other ones. And then eventually I attended her Inky art school. So I have also drawn a few drawings in Lost Ocean, because, I had room for it. And I wanted to do the drawings in a coloring book. So, if you just make drawings and doodle on paper, then perhaps you can't remember where you have put it, or you ruin the page, or just throw it out in the bin with something else, and then you lose it. So I thought that I would use some of the space in this book. So I must have been coloring in Lost Ocean when Johanna issued her Inky Art School Day series on YouTube. So this is from the Inky Art School Day 1, How to Draw Flowers. So here are some of the flowers I colored, or not colored, I drew. Spherical flowers, wildflower stems. So this is just by following her video. Again, details. And this is Inky Art School Day 4, How to Draw Fish. So all of these fish I have drawn myself, and then how to draw an ocean. So here I drew the anchor and some of these plots, which I haven't colored yet. I did intend to color it and make it a complete page, but I never got to it. And also this bottle with a little treasure map perhaps in it. Again, repetitive patterns, a lot of details. 2 pages where I just, I did color them and that was it. And then we have this wallpaper mermaid page, also took a long time. And then this page, and then you can see with this one, I completely gave up. Completely gave up. There are so many wonderful small details. I really think you have to use a fine liner with this one to get all of the details up. And you can see I've also started this page out, but I never finished it. This one never colored. These 2 never colored. I did begin and never finished. And then of course I colored the mermaids at the end, but that was it. So those were all of my really old Johanna books that I have finished. Now let's take a look at all of the Johanna books I do have where I am not finished with them. I'm working on them, and some of them I haven't even begun coloring in yet. But before we move on to the completed pages, please give this video a like, a thumbs up. It helps my channel. So after I had colored for a couple of years in Johanna's books with those felt tip pens, you can see from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly I switched over to coloring pencils. And when I had finished that book, I thought, well, I would actually like to do Secret Garden and Enchanted Forest again, but in coloring pencil, to see what I could achieve on the pages in Secret Garden. This is the Danish edition yet again. In coloring pencils. So I bought it, and I haven't colored a lot of pages in the book, but I have managed to color, a few, and this is one of them with a very limited color palette of just blue and purples, and then a pale pinkish background. Done with my Prismacolors. I can simply just tell by the look of a page that it is, of course, Prismacolors. This page I followed a Christian tutorial. I've written it down in the corner, and that was when I began with coloring pencils. I thought that I would like to see some other people doing it to see what I should do. But she used Prismacolors, so then eventually I had to get Prismacolors. So I began with Prismacolors in this book. And this is also why I know that I only began coloring in this one after I had done Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, because when I colored in that, I only had my Polychromos and then a couple of Staedtler coloring pencils. So I have actually marked a few pages I can see that I would like to color, but never really got to it because then. But you can see here, this page I did a couple of years ago in the beginning of my YouTube channel. I did a colored pencil comparison. I do have a playlist up, and I am planning on doing some more comparisons, but I think it will more be like a series of which pencils go best with the paper and coloring books instead. So here I tested Faber-Castell Polychromos. This is just such a big book, so you can hardly see everything. And then the Koh-i-Noor. So I divided this sphere down in the middle. So this entire side of it, the left side is colored with Polychromos and the other side with Koh-i-Noor. And then I also found, colors that matched to see if I could make it look alike. And I remember that both coloring pencil brands were good to work on the pages. The Koh-i-Noor was a little bit more scratchy and hard to work with than the Polychromos. But it surprised me of how well the Koh-i-Noor actually worked on this paper. I'm not quite sure if... Oh, I have actually colored another page here. Oh, it's this, again, Christian tutorials. So both this side of the page and the other side of the page, I follow Christian's tutorials with the Prismacolors when I first got them. But otherwise, I haven't really colored anything more in Secret Garden, except for this, which also was a colored pencil comparison, the hot page between Polychromos and Staedtler Ergosoft. And here you can clearly see the result, because the left side of the hot color with the Polychromos is much more color saturated and bright in the colors than the Staedtler Ergosoft. You can see here with the Ergosoft, the colors are simply not as bright as the Polychromos. This was, I actually think this was my very first color pencil comparison, because I made it in 2023. So that was really in the beginning of my YouTube journey. I also bought Enchanted Forest again, because, as I said, I really wanted to color this one in coloring pencil. I have colored only a couple of pages. This was a body color with a another one in a Facebook group that I'm in, where we were paired together, and then we decided to color this skull page from Enchanted Forest. And I did it in Prismacolors, and I also chose, we chose a quite limited color palette where we could color black and white, could we use, no skin tones, and then choose, I think it was 2 different colors, and then we could use all of the hues and tones in those colors. So I chose purple and green, and that is why this is just purple and green, and then a little bit of white on the mushrooms, and then black for the skull here, its eye sockets and nose, and here with the mouth. So I'm quite pleased with how this page turned out. I think I have, oh yes, and this one is a very recent one that I have made. One of these, that is a tree stump page, or the tree fairy house, elf house, where I did it as a tutorial in how to do a soft pastel bouquet background. And you know, when you have a page like this, you have so much wood in this tree stump. So how are you going to do it? So I chose a limited color palette with green, a little bit of yellow, and the brown, and then I used also green colors, different sorts of green pastel colors for the background, and then I made it a bouquet background, and I think it really worked with this page. So the warm golden yellow hues, and then we have different sorts of green colors, and then of course the brown for the ground and this tree. So this is a colored pencil comparison page I did between Prismacolor on this side and art text on the other. And this was after my review of the art text, because when they came, they were marketed as a sort of Prismacolor dupe, which they aren't. They are nice to work with. I do, however, find that they were a bit more difficult to use on this smooth paper, because they were not as easy to blend as the Prismacolors. And I also think that the Prismacolor colors over here are more bright and more color saturated than the art text. Well, at least some of the colors, because you can see this green color is actually a bit more bright than the spring green over here with the Prismacolors. On the other hand, the grass green here is much more pigmented than the grass green over here with the art text. And there is also a color difference in the blue colors. And then I have made these 2 pages. This was an idea I got when I saw I think it was a small Johanna video where she used, instead of white lines or whitening out the lines, she used gold. So this inspired me to do a completely black background on these pages where I never really know what to do with them. So I made the entire background black with a Pit Artist pen brush from Faber-Castell, and then I used a Staedtler gold metallic marker and Posca, also gold. So I colored, and then I used the gold for some of the leaves and the edges and the frame, and also the squirrel in here, and the rest I colored with the Prismacolors and also with the owl. So a couple of the details with the owl and the squirrel went a little bit missing because when I had colored it all black, I couldn't always see the lines, but I did as much of the lines that I could with the gold. And I think that it worked with coloring it black and then gold on top, because if you had just outlined with gold and then used the black, then you would have had, well, perhaps too much black in the gold and so on. So I think that the result is much nicer this way. But this is an idea you can use, and I actually think that one of these, I think it was the owl, is a tutorial up on my channel for everyone to see. I think it's under the playlist with tutorials with different color pencil brands or whatever it's called. And here I just want to show you, I haven't colored in them. I of course bought Johanna's 10th anniversary Secret Garden edition because there was added some new pages here in the back. Otherwise I wouldn't have bought it, I think. And I have not bought the 10th anniversary of Enchanted Forest because I thought, well, if it's just the same, then I wouldn't. I also bought, and this is the English edition of Lost Ocean, Magical Jungle, and Enchanted Forest, because I already had the Secret Garden in that 10th anniversary edition. And these are the English editions. So why did I buy those? Well, I haven't colored in them. I had just marked a couple of pages. That is because Magical Jungle here, the Danish edition, I found out that a couple of the pages are missing. So the Danish edition doesn't have all of the pages that Johanna drew for Magical Jungle. And that is why I, 2 years ago, invested in buying the books in the English edition, the earlier books that I only had in the Danish edition, simply because I wanted those pages. For example, if we look at Magical Jungle, we have a toucan page, we have an elephant page, and we have this one with all of the leaves, and then the flamingo page, okay? And then, of course, we have the tiger and the wreaths and all of that we find in the Danish edition. But look at the Danish edition. I mean, it goes... Here we have this guide list with all of these things you have to find, butterflies and snails and so on. And then it's done. So those 4 last pages, they were never in the Danish edition. That is why I felt I had to buy the English edition of Magical Jungle, which, by the way, is a book I bought many years ago and only began coloring in it, I think it was, in 2023. And I have to say, this is one of my absolutely favorite books of Johanna's. First and foremost, we have these, again, scavenger hunts here. You can find elephants and chameleons and lizards, a turtle, toucans, monkeys, and so on. And then there are just all of these jungle pages where you can add so much that you want. And I absolutely love this book because unlike Secret Garden where you can add, it doesn't say that you can add, but one of the very first pages I made in the book is actually this one over here. And you know that this is a Christian tutorial. I bet a lot of you have seen the tutorial and a lot of you have colored after Christian. So the most of the trees here are hand drawn in because that is what Christian did in that tutorial. And then we have a shiny light in here. So all I have done is I have applied this technique and others throughout a lot of the pages in the book, because I thought, well, it actually makes perfect sense. We have the leaves down here and foliage up here, so why not place some trees in the background and create some depth in this book? So I did the other page myself. Used the same colors I had from the Christian tutorial, added some other color combinations, and added some trees over here. And I think it works. So this is the Christian tutorial, this is me doing it. And these 2 pages, also just me. I have added trees here in the background instead of an empty space. I have, so as I remember, I actually added more foliage up here. Down here, I added quite a lot of Posca for this waterfall. And then I colored all of this in a lot of the color combinations from the other page and added some highlights here in the background. And then I looked at a picture of an elephant. I'm afraid I have perhaps made it a little bit too starving with this, but that is because the skin of elephants is sort of laid out on, or lay, you know, in certain wrinkles down on their sides. But I really like this double page spread, and I also do like double page spreads because I think there are so many things you can do with them. This is from 2023, and this is, I think, one of the very first tutorials I made for my YouTube channel, and it is still up on my channel. I can link it down in the description box so you can go and watch it. But I like a lot of the color combinations I did. Some of them were inspired by Christian and others were completely my own. And you can see here again my predominance of all of these blue and, well, green colors. This one was a tutorial from Davlina Art. I don't think she has made any YouTube videos for really a long time. But don't like the background at all. But I like the colors, the brightness of the colors. Can't remember if I changed a couple of them because I thought they were perhaps a bit too dark. But I do also like the parrots. Here, some pages I still need to color. Again, a Christian tutorial. She did have a lot of tutorials in Magical Jungle, so I did follow quite a few of them to get the hang of those Prismacolors in the beginning. And here you can see these wreaths with a handmade color pencil bouquet background. I think that some of the joy of following tutorials is that you get to see a color combination in leaves that you normally wouldn't do yourself, and you get a feel of the pencils that you're using. So this is a double page spread I haven't done, but here I will also, of course, do something with the background. Also Christian tutorial. This one was a little bit annoying to make because she has all of this, you know, layering. And sometimes I do think that she perhaps layers a little bit too much. I think that the background here drove me nuts when I made it, but the result is quite nice. I would, however, like to make this, because I have that English edition of Magical Jungle, I would really like to make this background more blue-purple instead of the pink and yellow chartreuse tones here. Those are not really my favorite color combinations. Again, a wonderful double page spread that needs something to be added. This is one of those hot pages where I use Prismacolors. It was like I had that long phase with Polychromos, and then when I got the Prismacolors and really begun getting the hang of them, then I, you know, switched to Prismacolors and just used those all the time. And this book is a very good example of me using Prismacolors instead of Polychromos, because I really do like using Polychromos in Johanna's books. Color pencil comparison. I hope you can see it. This side was done with the Prismacolor Premier and this side with the Caran d'Ache Luminance. And I do think that you can see here that the lilac of the Prismacolors is quite bright compared to a lilac from Luminance. But otherwise you can see that the colors are really close. The one I use for the edge of the leaves is just a little bit lighter and brighter here. Also for these leaves compared to the Prismacolors and the Spring Green and Chartreuse, but you can see with the blue colors really alike. Haven't colored these pages. I actually didn't color at all the whole last year in Magical Jungle, so it is one of my goals for this summer to color. Oh, I can't wait for this page to be colored. I imagine that we have some sort of a perhaps a little beach here, but otherwise the ocean, and then you can see islands from afar. So this could be so beautifully colored. Can't wait to color that one. Again, a jungle motif. We need some trees and perhaps some more foliage here. Oh, a sort of mandala page, and then we have some pineapples. You will of course recognize this as my test page for when I do reviews of coloring pencils. I thought that, well, if I had to do any sort of testing, it would have to be in this, on this page, because I do have so many, you know, just leaves, and of course you can also just, you know, color it in different colors. And I do have an opportunity to do another thing in my English edition of Magical Jungle, and to, you know, make it with a purpose and a pattern, because here it's a little bit random, the colors I've used for each of these coloring pencil brands, but I still have room to test quite a few more. This double page spread, also one of the ones I love. This one, Chris Cheng tutorial. This one I did myself, so I just applied what I had done here over here, and added a couple of other colors and color combinations, and then that was sort of it. But I really like how this one turned out, and this was a good lesson of how to, you know, draw these sort of volcanic islands, and how to have this sort of tropical sea where you have the shadows in the water from these volcanoes or islands, and then you have this almost turquoise-like colored water, and of course foliage in the jungle. Another Chris Cheng tutorial with this cute little hippo. So it was there, and I thought, well, another chance to practice with my Prismacolors. So I think this is the book that I have most Chris Cheng tutorials in, because I also have this one and this one, both of them Chris Cheng tutorials. Another colored pencil comparison. This is between Woomer coloring pencils and Marie's oil-based pencils. And again, I divided the page down the middle, and you can clearly see that, well, both coloring pencil brands work really nicely on the paper, but the Woomer, a lot of them are just a little bit more bright and more pigmented than the Marie's, especially here in the pink purple colors. And then I used Woomer for the other page over here. I thought this could be a good idea to just color this elephant wallpaper page and get that done with. This was a body color with a friend of mine who was on YouTube, but I think that she put down her YouTube channel and stopped making videos for it. And she also changed her Instagram name, so instead of coloring books and so on, she wants to do her own art and drawings. But anyway, we picked this page for a body color back in 2024. And I did the background with soft pastels, and then this was an elephant in a bottle here, a round bottle. So I used Prismacolors and made a jungle landscape inside, and then of course use some white Posca to give it this glass effect here. This was a fun body color to do. This double page spread, again, I have altered, added trees and some of these vines, or what you call it, and more leaves down here. For example, these I have added myself. And also, just have to think, I think this one was made, and this one I did myself, and over here, and I think I added this one also. So I have altered quite a bit on this page to make it look like that they really are, you know, at the top of the jungle. You know, when you look at nature documentaries and you see the entire jungle, and then you have some really tall trees standing up. So I am imagining that these parrots are in one of these tall, really tall trees, and then you can, you know, look out over the rest of the forest, and then we have foliage here. Here we have another colored pencil comparison between 4 different brands of color pencils, and they were all, you know, pastel colors. So here we have the Holbein, Brut Phono Macarons, Castle Art Pastel Tints, and then I, you know, found pastel-like colors from across the Black Widows sets. And you can go and watch that colored pencil comparison. I think it has its own playlist on my channel, and the result actually surprised me, because there was a clear winner of this one, but I will not tell you which of the pencil brands won. Here I have made this as a tutorial. I am quite sure that it is up on my channel for you to watch. I think I will try to link it down in the description box. Haven't colored these pages, but we are also getting nearer to the one I showed you in the beginning, and that was Magical Jungle. But yet another genius coloring book from Johanna Basford, with quests inside and so many opportunities to really, what can we say, put your own personal touch to the pages. And that is why I like Magical Jungle so very, very much. Then we have 30 Days of Creativity. And this was a book that she issued here in 2021. And this is the time of the COVID pandemic. So now we really are getting near to that COVID. And this is where I think a lot of people saw adult coloring. I had by this time done it for quite a few years, and was you know, beginning to use coloring pencils and really experimenting, learning, and then I thought that this was a great idea. And Johanna introduced these habit trackers, so a 30-day challenge to you know, color 10 minutes on a page, and I think she also did it with some of those flowers. You could download a Flourish, a coloring book. I also have, I can't find it actually right now, but I also printed it on very thin printing paper. So I actually thought that I would like to print it on some thicker paper and then do it. But this idea of, you know, setting a habit and coloring one of these each day after having colored something was a great idea to get people to do something. And I really like this idea. And I think that, well, perhaps she has gone a little bit too much away from this in her recent coloring books. I like the idea also because this is not just a coloring book. This is a drawing book also. Draw, color, and discover your creative self. So I really like these pages. The paper is also quite thick compared to some of her other coloring books. And so you can color, but you can also draw, and you can, you know, develop yourself with all of these things. And I think that this is a very, very underrated book of Johanna's. And then she has some of these affirmations that she has begun publishing in these affirmation cards. But she has done those for years with the, you know, affirmations. And again, here you can add your own things to hot air balloons and create cakes. Do more of what makes you happy. I think that adult coloring, the reason why it took such a huge boost upwards, and a lot of YouTube channels began around this time, some of the very big channels, I think it was because we were all just cooped up in our houses, and we couldn't, really go out because of the COVID pandemic. And I think that people discovered a new ways to express themselves and to, not to get so stressed about the whole situation, and getting an outlet for some creativity. And I think that Johanna Basford just tapped right into that with her coloring books at this time. And also, one of the things I loved was that there was so many Facebook's lives with her where she colored and talked, and it was like you were really in a coloring community there. And I think it's so sad that she doesn't really have time to do it anymore, and perhaps that more artists don't do it, because I think there really is what you can say a wish for it amongst a lot of colorists to get together during those live streams and connect and draw together. I mean, I would do live streams and color together with people if I would almost say lived, in another country, because when it's day here, it's morning elsewhere. So I'm not quite sure if I could find a time where it would suit a lot of my viewers and subscribers, because a lot of the people on my channel are from the United States. So when it's their afternoon and evening, it's almost night here. And then I go to bed. These pages I did as a double page spread, but this was the true body color with that friend of mine who used to, Nico, I think she was called, who used to have a YouTube channel. And this was one of the pages we did body colors on in 2024. And as I did this page, I thought, why not also do the other one? So I had it done. So, of course, soft pastels for the background and then Prismacolors for the rest. Yeah. Also, another great thing about Johanna's books, we have color palette test pages. I think some of the other illustrators would really benefit of doing that, because it's not all of them who has these things. And then how to draw Inky Wonderlands. I think this was from 2019, so I am really not taking them in order. But I think that this is just so great. A lot of advice if you want to get going on drawing yourself. And then it's divided into, themes. We have garden, where you can practice drawing blooms and leaves, botanical borders, poses. And then you can begin adding them in big, pages, bouquets. So you can both color and you can draw here. Inky insects. Well, I might pass that one. Flowers again. Symmetry, which is a great idea in a lot of colorists and illustrators, these symmetrical drawings. Butterflies, of course, different sorts. Spherical motifs, also quite popular. Floral garlands, symmetrical crests, and of course patterns. And then ocean pages, where you can learn to draw fish and ships. And then we have the outlines. You just have to do the patterns on the fish. Seaweed tangles, treasures and trinkets, flotsam and jetsam. Okay. Nautical charm, crabs, ocean patterns, seashells. So if you have lost ocean, seaweed, you will recognize quite a lot of this. Ships and bottles, ocean ribbon motifs, jellyfish could be handy, and lobster. And then forest, of course, with falling leaves, wildflower stems, leafy bugs, and a dragonfly, mushrooms, toadstools, forest finds. We have acorns and blackberries, lanterns, vines, of course, and then fill the page with vines and then ferns, different sorts of ferns, borders, framing work, trees. I mean, this is, if you want to, and you have drawn before and you want to begin drawing again, I think this is a great way to begin with that. Because there are really great instructions and pages where you can begin, and then you can move on from here with woodland garlands, and then begin yourself. I can see a lot of people are beginning to, colorists are beginning to draw coloring pages and to try to publish those in the Etsy shops and so on. But a lot of them are this cute and bold style. I think that some of these things with hand-drawn drawings, concentrating on, plants and stuff like Johanna Basford does, could also still be a market for that. Give this video a thumbs up, a like, helps the channel. I also have 2 copies of Johanna's Christmas book, and the first one, well, it's again the felt tip pens here, so I actually think I have shown you this one, so I will just quickly flip through it. But then I began with coloring pencil those years ago, and this is also a Chris Cheng tutorial. I have a couple in this book. So here I did this bouquet background, and the rest, of course, and truly learned the meaning of layering with this page, I have to say. Of course, I have it in yet another one I can do in the other book. Here I have used different sorts of pencils because this was part of the only Christmas coloring calendar I have made in 2023. It is in a separate playlist on my channel, and I think it's still available, so you can go and watch it if you want, for Christmas, of course. I am not quite sure if I will ever do another Christmas coloring calendar. It took quite a while to color the episodes because it's one each day. And as British-speaking people are celebrating Christmas on the 25th and not the 24th, it is actually 25 episodes that you have to make, so it really took a long time. So I'm not sure that I will film another one of those, but perhaps, you never know. Anyway, this is done. That was in the beginning of 2024 in my How to Color series with the bouquet background, my own first attempt of a bouquet background with this rabbit. Also Chris Cheng tutorial. Again, you certainly learn a lot of patience when you layer like Chris Cheng. And then here I still need to cover the rest of the pages in this book. This one was for my coloring calendar, and this is the 24th and the 25th. So the last 2 episodes I show how to color this page. And then another Chris Cheng tutorial. And that was it for the first one. And the second one, well, this is all going to be coloring pencil. I haven't worked on this book for the last, I think, 2 years. I began, as you can see here, with my Polychromos, and they work nicely on this. So I actually began here and then moved on to the book itself, where I have colored the first few pages, and also began coloring the motifs here on the back of the pages. And then I found out, while it took so long, so by the time I had finished this page, well, December month was gone and I didn't have time to color anything else. So the rest of this book is going to be colored with coloring pencils. Whether or not I will continue to color all of these, I am not sure. I think it would take too long, but you never know. So, and then we have Worlds of Wonder, Den vidunderlige verden in Danish. So I have it in the Danish edition, and then I bought it in the English edition, just to make sure I didn't miss out on any pages. And I have actually only colored a couple of pages this spring in the Danish edition, because I did a couple of body colors with Mandy, and we colored these 2 introductory pages, and then I colored the name page, and that was it. I remember clearly when this book came out, I was so absolutely enthused, and I really wanted to color in it. But first of all, I did get that coloring calendar where I colored some of the drawings. And then everyone had this book. And Johanna, she made a lot of videos and coloring in it. And a lot of people posted. And then it just, I don't know what it was. It just put me a little bit off from this book. I think it's a shame, really a shame. So this is the English edition, where I have colored a couple of pages, and you can see the paper is not nearly as white as in the Danish edition. If I just put it here, you can see there is a clear color difference between the paper in the Danish books. It's really white in the Danish editions, and it's more creamy in the English edition. Creamy, and sometimes with a sort of little grayish hue to it. But it is my plan to begin coloring in this book. But it's also because, I mean, everyone colored in these books during COVID, and I have seen so many versions of this page, this specific page, with backgrounds, with fences or fields and road and houses. And then when you have seen so many different versions of the page, then you begin doubting if you can ever, do a page that will satisfy you, because I have been inspired by so many drawings, so I don't know what I want to do with this page. Do I want a fence, or should it be parked outside a flower shop, for example? You could do that. So this is an example of a page I really love. This is, classic Johanna style. So we don't have a sort of treasure hunt or something in this book. Perhaps also because she says that it is a magical portal to many wondrous worlds. So it isn't a book, but a portal to all of these worlds. And the curious and creative adventure seeker and so on. So you don't have a quest, but you have all of these worlds. You can see here, these are some of the cakes on this page I have drawn. This is from my 3 minutes of coloring series. You can see it in my playlist up on my channel. And here I did this recently as a part of a how-to tips and tricks for beginner colorists about how to layer with colored pencils for smooth and vibrant results. I will link it down in the description box if you haven't seen it. And I have also seen so many versions of this lemon page that I haven't begun coloring it, because I have been inspired by so many pages. So what should I choose to do? This is a recent one I did, where I experimented a little bit with my Sakura Moonlight, the neon colors, and making one of these underwater ocean pages. And these pages they've been colored by Nico Seeming Coloring, and her pages, amazing. I already know what I want to do with this page. Of course, the plane is flying up in the sky, and it's going to be yellow, just like my husband's plane, because that is yellow. That was the owl page. And all of these small drawings have been colored as part of either a tips and tricks for beginner colorist series with highlights. I think it was these 3, and the others are part of my 3 minutes of coloring series. So you can go and watch that with the episodes there. And here, these 2 pages I made 2 years ago in 2024, and quite sure that this is a video up on my channel somewhere. Done it with Black Widows, which actually work quite nicely on the paper in the English edition here. And then I had seen some versions of this page where people try to do some sort of a rainbow effect. So I also wanted each of these sort of flower boxes to follow the colors of the rainbow, and then I had to add a little bit. So sometimes when you watch the rainbow, there is a sort of pinkish color and sometimes a more turquoise color instead of green. So I added those colors, and then I colored it brown for, like the earth, that the flower beds are placed in the earth in between to sort of frame it in. Trying to remember what colors I used. I actually think I also used Black Widows for this page. As I said, they work really nicely on the paper. But otherwise, I haven't colored the pages in here. I mean, a lot of these pages are also Christian tutorials. So when you have watched those and you have seen other people's versions, this was also Christian tutorial. I think it was this page. Then well, for me, it sort of puts me off from coloring in this book. I actually did this a couple of months ago. This was a tutorial up on my channel for the members of my coloring community. And I like how this one turned out. Wildflowers from 2018, and this was the first of her books I bought in an English edition simply because I couldn't wait for the Danish edition to be issued. So I thought, why not buy it? And this is one of these editions where you have this, you can take it out and then you can probably color it, I'm not quite sure. And then you have the rest of the book. And this was also one of the very first Johanna's books, apart from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, that I began coloring with coloring pencils, and it is, of course, my Polychromos. And when I began coloring in this book, it was, the old style where I just began at the first page and then tried to work my way through the book. And then eventually I abandoned it, and now I pick pages and have done for a few years the pages that I want to color. But you can see here that here I am experimenting a lot with my Polychromos, trying out different techniques and color combinations, and liked a very, very, very dark background. That is the indigo blue. And then on larger pages like this with a lot of background, I still didn't really do backgrounds. Except for this flower sphere. Here I can see I have added a little bit of color to the background, but still Polychromos pencils. And here you can see now I am beginning to, loosen up a little bit. And colored this one again without a background, but tried coloring this and added some color to it. I simply can't remember when I have colored it, but I can see it is still my Polychromos pencils I have used here. Here I have used different sorts of pencils. I'm pretty sure that these two were colored with my Arctex pencils, and can't remember these two because all of these I have used in my 3 minutes of coloring series, where I had just, picked a small little drawing, small little motif from one of Johanna's books, usually Worlds of Wonder or World of Flowers. And then I used those, and also from Small Victories for my videos in that series. And here I think that we really begin seeing this a little bit of change in her style. We have these sort of cramped rooms. We saw them first in Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, and now they appear in World of Flowers. These two were colored from a Christian tutorial quite a few years ago. And I'm not quite sure if I use Prismacolor. I mean, she always uses Prismacolors, but I can't remember if I actually had Prismacolors at that time. And then I just used the coloring pencils that I had, different sorts of brands. I actually think that this is just me trying out my Polychromos and adding some Staedtler Design Journey and not Prismacolors. So I just tried to find colors to match some of the colors Chris Cheng used. And then I never really got to do the rest of them. This is a more recent one done with my Castle Art pencils. Castle Art Soft Touch for the green, and then pastel tints for the rest. And this is where I found out that Castle Art pencils actually work quite nicely on this smooth paper in Johanna's books. Oh, and these bug pages, I am not sure if I will ever color these, but let's see. A nice wallpaper page. And here you could actually just, add a background now. A very busy, perhaps, flower shop. Or a chemist extracting things, scents and stuff from the flowers. The heart flower. Oh, I have marked this page a long time ago that I wanted to do it. And these I actually did in one of my tips and tricks for beginner colorists, the background here, to try to show you how you can do a background with Polychromos pencils. And eventually I did the other page and then I colored the rest. This double page spread I'm really, really proud of. And let me show you here. I have only used 2 color families. I used this color family with the pale sage, sap green light, Kelly green, olive green, Prussian green, and kelp green. And then I used this color family with the Deco Peach, Blush Pink, Pink, Hot Pink, Process Red, Magenta, Pomegranate, Raspberry, and Tuscan Red. And the only thing I added was a lemon yellow. So all of this is colored, and then I used the lemon yellow to give it a red shine, because all of this was pink, but these flowers I added some yellow, and actually not only lemon yellow, I think here it's deco yellow and some sunburst yellow. But a couple of yellows, and then just these pink colors, and then the green colors here for the entire page. And Deco Peach was used for the background. And Prismacolor reached out to me after they had seen this drawing and wanted to know if they perhaps could use it in their marketing. So I said yes, of course. These two were just for fun and practice. I followed a tutorial a couple of years ago, well actually a few years ago, from Pamela's Passion for Pencils, with creating depth in your coloring so they don't look flat. With both of the flowers. And then I haven't really colored the rest of the page. Perhaps I will eventually. This one I did last year, and well, Polychromos yet again, with some of my very, very favorite color combinations within the Polychromos set. I'm really satisfied with the result. And well, if you can see it, I also did for the framing use a little bit of some, I think it was my Sakura jelly rolls, the Stardust, the glittery ones. And these I did 2 years ago. And I actually think I did it as some sort of a color along on my channel. I think. I remember filming the process. I used my Castle Art Soft Touch for these 2 wallpaper pages, and then I switched colors. So I used blue and a little bit of light lilac for this page, and then I used lavender and pink colors on this page. The background is the ivory color from the Polychromos set, because I really didn't think that I had any castle art that really matched in the background. So darker green colors and more bright green colors here. And I am very satisfied with these 2 pages. I actually enjoyed the process, because once you have decided for the colors you're going to use, then it's just a matter of, repeating. And it's actually doesn't have to be boring. It can actually be some sort of a tranquil color process that you do to bring peace to the mind by just repeating the same thing over and over. If you had asked me when I got this book several years ago, if I would have been finished with it now, I would have said yes. But as you can see, I am clearly not finished with it. Have used the color palette test page a bit with color combinations from different brands, and also my Pit Artist pen brushes, just to make sure that they don't bleed through, and they don't. And then here we have this folded out page. Also haven't colored this one, but there will be a time for everything, including finishing Wildflowers. Rooms of Wonder. Well, Rooms of Wonder is sort of a, it's one of those books where when I had bought it, and it was sort of after, all of this Johanna craze and Worlds of Wonder craze during the COVID pandemic. And then she came with Rooms of Wonder, and I think that a lot of people expected it to be more or less like Worlds of Wonder, but it is truly a Rooms of Wonder, because it's rooms everywhere. And I was a bit disappointed when I bought it and began really looking at the pages, because all of these rooms are filled with so much detail. I know that people complain in her newer coloring books that there is certainly not enough detail. Well, buy Rooms of Wonder and you will certainly have details. So this is, I think I remember, it's the Lost Property Office. So this is really filled with things. And then you have these pages. I know that Karen from My Colorful Country Life has made a series of color alongs where she has colored, 5 things in a row. And that is perhaps actually quite a good idea, to divide such a page up in smaller bits and then do it. And this is also a great page, because here you can test your coloring pencils and see how they work on the paper if you wanted to. So as you can guess, I haven't really colored in this. And then there is suddenly pages where I think, oh, this is the old Johanna with all of these flowers and sort of labyrinths and so on. And then we go back to the rooms. Now, a page like this with all of these mushrooms and toadstools. Whoa, I have seen a lot of different versions of both this page and the other one. And some of them are absolutely gorgeous. But it also makes you wonder, what will I do with this page and not copy other people, what they have done? Because you always want to, make it your own in your colorings. This is a really, really, really difficult wallpaper page to color, because there's so much, gold framing. It could easily be colored as gold framing. The windmill, the beehive, all of these nice fruits. Oh, the astronomer's room, I actually have colored it. Can't remember where the drawing is, but I think that she had this Rooms of Wonder tour, like with Worlds of Wonder tour, and then it was a free download So I downloaded it and printed it, and then I colored it, and it actually turned out quite nicely. But I simply can't remember where I have that drawing now, so I can't show it to you. But you can see there are certainly a lot of opportunities here to color different sorts of motifs. And in that way, Rooms of Wonder is very versatile compared perhaps to Enchanted Forest and Secret Garden, where Secret Garden is gardens and flowers, and Enchanted Forest trees and also flowers and animals. Here you don't have a quest, but there is a large difference in all of these motifs here. So this is actually a page that I have colored, and I did it recently as a color along or tutorial for the members of my channel, and went all out of my comfort zone and chose pink, purple, blue, and turquoise teal colors. Also used some pencil sparkle pop glitter gel pens and a Pitt Artist brush pen, the black for the background. But otherwise, a very sort of limited color palette in my eyes, because usually I would have normally filled this page with so many different sorts of colors. So it would have been really bright and colorful. And instead, I really tried to stay with a much more limited color palette. I used the pinks and purples for the plants, and the cliffs, and then all of this turquoise for stones, a couple of plants, and then the windows, the door, and then all of the blue for, well, the watery background. So this was a challenge, but I'm really, really satisfied with the result. And this page I did last year, used Neocolor 2s for the background, and I actually think I used my Staedtler Design Journey for the cakes. This was a body color with my very, very good and dear friend Sophie, Pixinger Colors from Instagram. And we chose this page because it was her birthday month, and she liked all of these cakes. And then I put the P in the middle for her. And then I quickly decided to do it some sort of rainbowish colors, but with more pastel colors, and then, alternate between the colors of the ribbons and, of course, of these plates that the cakes are on. So a very happy pastel colored page. And this paper actually takes water mediums quite well. It's just a little bit stiff, but it doesn't really buckle. And then there are pages like this, sort of steampunky, and all of these machines, and that is really not me. Also space pages, really not me. So this is actually one of those very few books I have in my coloring book collection where I am not sure that I will ever finish the book, because there are simply certain pages that I will probably never get to color. Like this page. But, well, perhaps you can't color them all. Small Victories came out the year after Rooms of Wonder, and because Rooms of Wonder is really intricate, filled with details and so on, I think a lot of people complained about it and wanted something perhaps more simple that they could just, color in 5 or 10 minutes. And since Johanna is also all about, coloring just a little bit here, a little bit there, she came up with Small Victories, which is an absolutely brilliant idea for a coloring book at that time. Post-COVID, and we were beginning to, really get back to work, and we were not at home, isolating and so on. So this is a great, great, great idea, and I think I have seldom seen a coloring book become so popular in such a short time as Small Victories. And it is also called a coloring book of little wins and miniature masterpieces. And you can see I actually have the American edition and not the English edition. Can't remember why I ended up with the American, but that is absolutely okay. I could imagine it was because it was the one I could get the quickest, so I could, get my hands on a Johanna Basford book. And in this book, I have quite a few body colors with my very good American friends, Deanne and Kathleen, because this is the book that we really began our body colors in. So quite a few of the pages are these body colors, and quite a few of the pages are done with my Polychromos pencils, and some with Prismacolors or Black Widows, and so on. So I have tried to use a lot of different mediums in this book. In Johanna's spirit, if you can say that. This first page is exactly one of those body colors with Deanne and Kathleen, and the challenge was to, use the colors of the rainbow. And then we would have to figure out how to do it. And then I thought, well, I could divide the page into sections and then color each section with a color from the rainbow. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and indigo, and then the purple color. And it was, well, almost a good match, because you can see I have a small section of motifs down here for the red color, and with the orange, the yellow house, the green flowers and butterflies, and so on. So I think I made it work. And then I decided to use the same colors with a metallic marker to color her name, and then gold in the middle for the title of the coloring book. So I think that this really worked. And this page, I have just colored, still using Polychromos. Also this one. And here we also find some of the motifs here I have used for my 3 minutes of coloring series, which you can see in the playlist up on my channel if you want to watch it and color along. So this, I also did quite a few beginner tutorials in Small Victories, and this was one of the first of them. And this was when I was in my soft pastel background phase, because a lot of these have this soft pastel background. And then I use Polychromos to color the rest. But I haven't finished this book. I have colored quite a few pages, but I'm not even half done with the book. I know a lot of people have finished it because, well, it's been 3 years since it was released, and a lot of people have colored quite a lot in it. But I have also other books to work in and other illustrators I want to, so there will be a time and a place for when I finish Small Victories. This page was an episode in my Tips and Tricks for Beginner Colorists, one of the more recent episodes with how to make colors work together in different methods. This was also a body color with Deanne and Kathleen, where we had to pick a country. And you can see I picked 3 countries, 1 for each boat, and then we would use the colors that were in the flag on the boat. So the boats were colored using the colors from the flag. And this is Dominica, and this is Azerbaijan, and this is Belize. Actually a really, really fun idea. And there are so many flags of the world, and you can use this on a lot of different pages. Here I have tested my Prismacolors. That was for the review of those. But I haven't colored the rest of that back page. Also a body color with Deanne and Kathleen. Color beautifully and color ugly. And the only way I knew how to color ugly was to use the colors I like the least, which is all of the gray colors. So you can see this moth, or what it is, bumblebee, I don't know what it is. It's colored. And then I used a couple of pencil sparkle pop, and that dark one is actually red. So I added that color and some silver, and that was it. And then I used a lot of the nice bright colors for the snail. But I actually like the result of this one. So it didn't turn out quite as ugly as I wanted to. Also, I think a beginner tutorial. Oh, and this one was definitely a beginner tutorial and quite popular. And I really also like the result. I like the color combinations I did, how the colors just work together. This is colored with Prismacolors, I can see. This is, I think, my absolutely favorite page in Small Victories. And not just because of the way I have colored it, it's a scene itself. You know, you get a, it's sort of a framed look into a, an underwater world filled with tropical fish and corals and all of these colors that you do find in a healthy coral reef. We don't have a lot of those left on the planet, but nevertheless, this really gives you the opportunity to create this underwater world. And I actually really love coloring underwater scenes. And fortunately, August is getting near, and then it's time for my yearly hashtag Aqua Adventure August 2026. So in the end of July, I will make a little commercial video to try to get as many people to participate in my hashtag as possible, to get all of you coloring not just mermaids, but underwater scenes, sunken treasures, octopuses and fish and coral reefs and whales and so on. Also a body color, monochromatic coloring. I chose blue. I think that was it, Deanne chose, was it green or purple? And Kathleen, I think Kathleen chose purple and Deanne chose brown or green. But I like the blue colors I chose. I use soft pastels and, you know, a lot of blue colors, mostly Prismacolors, but also blue gel pens of different sorts. And then I just created, you know, natural highlights in the windows and the roof. This one, I actually think it's the Castle Art pastel tints I used for this page. Polychromos for sure. First I colored this one and then I just reused the colors over here. Get a little bit more coherence. And examples of monochromatic coloring with yellow, turquoise, purple, pink, and the red heart. Also a body color with Deanne and Kathleen with these 3 dogs. Can't really remember the challenge. I think it was using a number of different mediums. So I used soft pastels for the background, and I used some gold glitter, and then I used coloring pencil, and I think I used some gel pen for the eyes, and I think that was it. This also from my tips and tricks for beginner colorists, how to plan your coloring page. So if you want to see how I color this, you can just see that episode in that series. And here I use my Staedtler Ergosoft. Prismacolors. A somewhat limited color palette for these. These were colored as part of my 3 minutes of coloring series. So there is an episode about how to color cherries and raspberries, oranges and lemons. I actually quite like the result of these. And also a body color with Deanne and Kathleen. And again, I can't really remember the challenge because this was one of our first body colors, but it was something about, was it using specific colors? Or something, I think it was something with specific colors we had to use, and then the rest we could choose ourselves. And all of these wreaths I have, of course, colored with a soft pastel background and coloring pencils. I actually think I used luminance pencils for this one. Here it must be my Polychromos pencils. This is Prismacolor pencils. Quite sure of it. Or what? Could also be Polychromos. No, I think it must be Prismacolors. And this is definitely Prismacolors. I think. Also from my 3 minutes of coloring series. And these, another body color. And this was using 2 different mediums, I think. So I just used I think it was the Wind ink tints for the background. So I created sort of a mountain-like background for this dragon and a more jungle foliage-like background for this one. Also a body color with Deanne and Kathleen, using the Scandinavian folklore colors and designs. And then I reused the colors in another body color, this time with Pixinger colors with Sophia, to color this page. And that was it from Small Victories. Before we continue with the rest of the completed pages, give this video a like, a thumbs up, it helps my channel. Magical Worlds, and as you know, this is my project book that I am trying to finish. And I have used all sorts of water mediums and other mediums in this, and the paper in this book, which is the English edition, doesn't take water that nicely, not like Rooms of Wonder anyway. Oil pastels for this page, and you can see, because it's not that long ago that I did show you my progress in this, but as you can see, I have managed to color a few more pages, especially my body colors. This was the one for the month of May. Had to create some sort of rainforest scene and then the illusion of rain, so I added some white gel pen for rain when I was done. Here it was these animal prints background, and of course I was actually late, so I didn't finish it in time, but then I had time to do it at the end of June. And I chose a leopard, tiger and a cow, and a giraffe and a snake and a crocodile. And it was actually not that easy to use to do these backgrounds, I will have to say, especially the snake and the crocodile. Well, they were really difficult to make. So I can't really show you the next page because it is a body color I have just finished and I haven't shown it to Deanne and Kathleen, so I'll just skip a page. But recently I colored the dragon, still need to color the castle. And you can see I have actually marked some pages, and these are the pages that I want to color next. Oh my goodness, it just keeps on going. The other day, these 2 pages were completely stuck together, glued together actually, because the varnish I had used for the oil pastels on this page, I could simply peel it all off. And I don't know if it is a combination of this, the old varnish I used and the metallic marker I've used here, but it just kept sticking together like it was glued. And I also had, you can see here, I had to fix the borders and edges with the gold marker here. So I finally gave up. I peeled all of that varnish off, and then I gave it some gesso. And it seems to have done the trick. So the page is not shiny anymore. It's really matte and quite frankly a bit boring. And it has also been damaged, you can see, from that varnish that bubbled up. So it has also ruined the oil pastel quite a bit. But at least it's sealed in and it won't affect this page anymore, I hope. But I have found out that this is a more recent one, that I used these spinning wheels. So I have put all of the missing or the pages I haven't done in that spinning wheel, and then I set it to spin, and then it picks, I know, 4 pages, and then I mark the pages in this book and also in my Seasons and Twilight Garden book, and then I don't have to sit and decide, then I can just color those pages. That was the Brutfuna macarons. And Polychromos, of course. You can see here, water. Not very good paper for water. Oh, one of the very nice body colors with Deanne and Kathleen, turning all of the snails into a family of snails with mom and dad and the big sister and the little brother and grandpa and granny and the aunt and uncle and the baby. And here using an awareness ribbon and the colors in that to color this huge pumpkin house. Also a body color, sepia dragon. Here we turn the dragon into an Easter bunny. And I added all of the Easter eggs done with acrylic paint. And then some super golden markers. Also an altered page of this is me altering the page for a body color where we had to, you know, make it from the ugly duckling to the beautiful swan. So I had to alter the swan. I actually think it was a duck, but never mind. So I had to turn it into a swan and remove some of the cheeks of the head. And then I removed the entire castle and made a full moon instead. Which I actually like better, because what duck swims with an entire castle on its back? Pastel tints from Castle Arts work really nicely on the paper. Also a more recent page. So I have done a few pages more since I last showed you my progress in this book. Also a body color using bright colors for this parrot and also making it sort of a parrot family. Oil pastels for the entire background, the Van Gogh ones. Here I use felt tip pens, and although I tested them at the back of the book and they didn't bleed through, of course they bled through up here. But now I have chosen this page to begin work with, so I think I will do something with the background so you can't see the bleed through from the blue colors up there. A body color with my good friend Sophie, so quite a few of the pages here are body colors. This was my body color for Christmas, where I turned the entire space page into a Christmas tree decorated with ornaments. So I am wondering what I should do with that page over here. This was actually a color and chat with Black Widow pencils. It's up on my channel if you want to see it and follow along. And here also water mediums, and you can see luckily I had actually already used oil pastels and used the gesso on this page, so it is actually quite stiff in itself, so it didn't matter if I used a lot of Neocolor 2s and water on this page. And here, well, it actually worked okay. A bit stiff also, but it worked. But this coloring book has been really difficult because there are so many spaces, so you really have to be, I think, creative to color these pages. So this is not one of my favorite book of Johanna's, funnily enough, because this is one I really want to finish first. Wonderful Wildflowers. Haven't really done a lot in this book, unfortunately. When I got Magical Worlds, I was wondering if I should buy anything more from Johanna Basford, because I was quite disappointed with Magical Worlds compared to her other coloring books. It's like she was over here with all of these intricate coloring pages, double page spreads in her earlier books, quests, stories. And after Rooms of Wonder, then she changed completely in the opposite direction with small and simple and so much background. This is some of the busiest pages in the entire book, these introduction pages. Because look at the space here. And then it's also a bit, you know, like like small victories with all of these motifs here. So much space, and again space, and I have colored, you know, moths and butterflies before in her other books, including Magical Worlds, Small Victories. And there, well, she did try to have some sort of a quest here. It's not introduced here, but if we look at the end of the book, then we find the plant hunters list. But it's not really introduced, I think, a lot, this quest. So it's like there isn't, you know, a coherence like in her older books with we introduce we have a welcome, and then we have the quest. Oh, here you can find all of this. It says only something about her inspiration and larger motives and smaller ones, and have fun. Hidden among them are the 12 rare species featured in the plant hunters list at the back of the book. Can you find them all? But why not show them here so you are introduced to them from the beginning? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. A sleeping fox like every other illustrator has. Reminds me of the ones you can find in Wildflowers. These two reminds me of, is it Secret Garden? That also has these 2 pages with flowers you can color. This one from my Tips and Tricks for Beginner Colorists series, how to make your coloring pages pop to make it look 3D. And I was actually going to color the rest, but I haven't really gotten around to it. This is the first drawing I did in Wonderful Wildflowers, and I actually think it's up on my channel as a color along for the members of my channel. So here I really experimented with both color combinations and, you know, doing the background with the colored pencil to make it sort of light and more glowy in here. Don't know if you can see glows, but certainly more light and then darker at the edges. And I like the page how that turned out. I like this page because it's, well, it reminds me of some of her older work. I mean, this Kingfisher reminds me of the one I have just shown you in Magical Worlds. And then, of course, the cute panda I did as a body color with Pixinker Colors Sophie, my friend from Instagram. So Prismacolors actually work really nicely on the paper, which is good to know when you really, you know, get to coloring all of these flower motifs. And I don't have anything against the motifs. I like them, but it's a way that this is, I think that quite a few of the ideas for the pages are reused from her earlier books. So, and then we finally get to Inklings. And Inklings I have not really colored in this book. I have one page that I can show you, if I can find it. Oh, here. This was also from my Tips and Tricks for Beginner Colorists. And that was how to choose a focal point, which is actually quite important when you are coloring, whether you are a beginner colorist or a more practiced colorist. It's very important to find your focal point and begin from there, so you don't end up with a messy and chaotic page, but instead have a calm and more coherent page. So if you want to know more about that, watch that episode. And you can clearly see my focal point is, of course, this house with the light on top of the toadstool or mushroom or what it is. And then you can see that I have colored the surroundings and I have darkened everything to make you as a viewer zoom in on the focal point, which is the house. I really like how this page turned out. But otherwise, well, it's small victories in another form. And some other motifs. This page is going to be a body color with Deanne and Kathleen for, I think this was for August, and we had two, what have I written, Sesame Street colors. So the children's series, Sesame Street. We have to choose the colors used from that series and apply them on this page. I like the idea. It's actually much more fun to do pages because, again, simple. And then there are some newer motifs like these circus pages, which is a nice refreshment in the book. But I mean, this page could easily just have been in small victories. And here, this car with the birthday cake is for September, where we have to do some sort of a wedding setting, a background with a church in the background, and then, you know, add wedding details to it. So I'm going to draw some sort of landscape and add a church, I think over here, because it's easier to draw here than over here, you know, near the middle. So that will be really interesting to do. But again, and then we have these spheres filled with candy. We have a bug page. And then one of them is not aligned like the others. This is an okay page, an okay scenery you can color. But again, all of these. So here for a page like this, I actually probably would go for a very, very, very limited color palette with the same sort of background in the boxes and the same colors for the flowers to make it a more coherent page, because otherwise it could be a very confusing and chaotic page, this one. Also for this page. So no, haven't colored a lot in this, and I probably won't color a lot unless we turn this into our new body color book. And of course, when I use books for tips and tricks for beginner colorists, I usually tend to use pages from Small Victories or, well, Inklings or other books like that for my tutorials there. Thank you so much for watching my coloring book collection and all of the completed pages I have done in my Johanna Basford books. I really hope that you enjoyed watching. I also hope that you will give this video a like, a thumbs up. It helps my channel and it also helps me. If you are interested in more videos like this, be sure to be subscribed to the channel, as I will soon, of course, show you all of my completed pages and my Hannah Carlson coloring book collection. Don't forget to watch out for the posts on my channel. Here I put all of the illustrators and books on vote for my color and chats, because I like to do subscriber voted color and chats where you get to choose the illustrator and the book and sometimes even the page. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed it, and until I see you in the next one, have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Happy coloring. Bye.